special guest for this evening.
I love that. I'm really eating this out.
So if everybody could pay a big round of applause to the Bitcoin Queen that we have in the house today. Can we get a round of applause for her, please? So tonight she's going to be teaching you how to carry yourself as an NFT artist. So please listen up. There's a lot of helpful information to this evening. So please give it up for Bitcoin Queen.
Hey guys, what's up? All right, I'm sorry, Aisha. So Aisha is going to be my artist of choice. She's going to be asking me questions, perspective as an artist, how to basically market yourself to as an NFT artist online and in real life. I guess we'll use this mic. All right. So just to do a quick reintroduction, my name is Bitcoin Queen. I work for BitBasel, this wonderful banner right here. We're my name's original art community. I would say OGs in general. We actually started doing like art galleries before NFTs were kind of popping, just around crypto art, like actual sculptures, and we would talk about NFTs back in like 2019, 2018. Before like the big wave would go. I'll be at NFT NYC again this year, but I started going since 2018 was our first year. So I've been into NFTs for quite a little bit of time now. So yeah, that's my story. So I'm just gonna hand you the mic and we'll just go back and forth.
Hello guys, my name is Aisha Bakara, and I'm also an NFT artist and I'm starting, and just like the first month actually, I started organizing this NFT events. So it's very interesting, like we're talking about like the way you started and the way you started, it was like a very interesting like a way for you to make yourself from the other community as well. Can you share with us what was the like the good things and the difficult that you need to learn, like the new kind of skills for that? What are the skills you need to add, like to learn, like something new about yourself, like about like.
So as an artist, probably the best way of marketing yourself in the NFT space is online. One, building an online community. That seems to be I want to say it's the biggest thing, but it's a pretty big part. NFTs are digital assets, so your clients are online, basically. So building a good community to educating your community, they need to know what they're getting into, they need to know what they're buying, they need to know how it works. And really, as long as you have solid marketing and everybody, like your current collectors, your current community knows what's going on, you'll naturally attract other communities as you kind of like push for more, right? If you have done major shows or gotten major awards, make sure like mention that, show people that you're valuable as an artist, make sure to like brag about yourself a little bit, be proud of what you've done and where you're going. And the rest is kind of history as long as you have those two things down. That's kind of like the basics. After that, you want to pretty much give your NFT some utility. That seems to be a part that a lot of people lack. You yourself as a figure, as more famous, quote unquote, you get in the space, the more people understand your art will naturally like raise in value. But wouldn't it be cool if people who buy your art, if you have thousands of followers, if this was a way that they could buy into a membership to talk to you, or have like a private members only chat? People like that kind of exclusive access. So that's probably one of the many ways you can give something utility. There's other things like liquidity pools and NFT mining and all that kind of stuff that you can get into, but that's probably just the easiest way to do it, giving people access to you.
What type of marketing platforms do you use right now? Or like when you started with yourself as an artist?
So this is just for crypto in general. The platform where people are looking the most at like this kind of stuff is Twitter. Crypto Twitter is huge. It kind of just happened that way. I couldn't really tell you why. People like to, put fake avatars and shit posts, basically. So crypto Twitter it is. I heard TikTok for the younger crowd is a big upcoming kind of like crypto niche community, as well as Instagram. But having a chat room, let's say Discord, a lot of people don't use Discord or having a chat room on Telegram. There's certain things that you can implement where, like I said, you can have a bot that's hooked up so that people who have their NFT can join, that chat, and it can kind of become an exclusive thing, or you can just have an open chat where you talk to your community. Having somewhere where your community comes and having somewhere where they can kind of like talk to each other and grow a base is pretty important from what I've seen in the space. Most projects have community, all of them have chat rooms, just because that's where a lot of them congregate. So as long as you have a chat room and you're on major platforms like Twitter and Instagram, and just working your way through there, that's the best way to be or go.
Whatever pages or channels do you use, like to promote yourself?
What kind of Discord channels do you use to promote yourself? So you create a channel, right? So you promote yourself across, like, you basically put your brand on Discord. You build it around your brand, right? And people who are interested in, let's say if you do events, showing up to your events, or if they're interested in your new drops, if you only like post things in your Discord, they're gonna follow because that's the only place that's kind of exclusive to you. And then just using your other social media platforms to kind of like push. There's bots that you can integrate into Discord that will automate some of these things. Like every time you tweet something, it'll show your community on Discord, or every time you put something on Instagram, same thing. And then things that you can integrate that work with wallets so that it can read that NFTs are there and basically allow them into private chats.
Do you use any like network, like a Discord network to promote yourself as well?
Yeah, that would be the chat room. So again, you want Twitter, Instagram, and a chat room, either Discord or Telegram, for people to go. So you have your social media where people see you, and you have your chat room for you to talk to people, and people to talk to you and find out more.
People connecting with you from Discord to the Discord.
Right, so what I do is I have a link tree, and in the link tree, there's a link to the Discord where they can join, and I'll also push it on, I'll tweet it out on Twitter, I'll put it on Instagram, and people will join, because they become aware, and then what sometimes what we like to do is like, hey, join the Discord so you can get some free swag, or get an airdrop, or, something that your audience would go there to talk to you, and just make it enticing, promote yourself. The same way you promote your online, just to transfer your community from one platform to another. So yeah, does that make sense?
What type of NFT platform do you use and why?
So what we do at BitBasel is that we connect artists to platforms, one, that makes sense for them, because there are a lot of different platforms to use, and two, kind of just guide them through the process. Me personally, I don't make NFTs, but I consult companies and consult a lot of projects, and I do have artists that I help with this process. So what I usually like to do is find a platform that makes sense, because we all know Ethereum gas fees are very high. There's alternative platforms that are built on top of Ethereum, that there's alternative coins that kind of either mitigate those gas fees or erase them completely. And there's other blockchains like Wax or Tezos that are also creating NFT platforms that have shown to be pretty good, actually. And I have a friend, he makes probably $1 million a year selling NFTs, at least. And all he does is he sells NFTs for as cheap as $1. But if you sell, a million NFTs at $1, as we saw, someone like what was his name? I think it was Tory Lanez. He sold his $1 million $1 albums, and it sold out in 57 seconds. He made $1 million in 57 seconds. Yeah. So don't think because you're putting something at a lesser value, if it can reach a broader community, it's not necessarily worth it. It could be very much worth it. It's just gauging your audience, knowing what you're putting out there, and knowing how to price it.
Do you have a particular strategy?
A strategy? A strategy for what? Be more specific.
You have how do you want to grow your NFT fans or people who buy it?
So I think it depends on, first of all, what it is that you're selling, whether it is you're selling something like a membership, or you're selling an art, or you're selling an album, or you're selling a song. And then from there, it's getting into marketing that correctly and educating your audience. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get people who are already into the crypto space. Let's say Lau, for example, right? He wasn't. Let's go back 5 years. Let's say he knows nothing about nothing. But just because of who he is, people now become interested because there's now value in the artist. So right off the bat, that's one. Two, things like creating a chat room where you're getting people like exclusivity. At that point in time, now you're promoting. You don't necessarily only want to promote like, hey, look at my cool art. You want to promote, hey, come to my chat room. This is members only. This is exclusive. We're gonna have, let's say raffles, or we're gonna make pools that you can participate and be a part of. Then people will rush to be a part of that. If you make something limited, that's another thing. Like if you say, hey, there's only 100 of these, and people, if it's something that's hot, like I've seen my friends stuff again sell out in seconds. It just depends how you're timing it, what's it doing, because that's where utility comes in. A lot of these things you can make them basically mine for you, putting you mine, which basically means that it's making you money. Someone can take the NFT, stake it on a platform, and then it can give them coins from a popular game or a popular server, whatever. And that would be their reason for buying your NFT now is because it will make them money, literally. So it just depends on the utility you're giving it. It depends on how you're doing it in terms of like marketing it and pushing it and making a strategy. It's really when you market something, and especially NFTs, you really just have to think, how am I going to benefit my community? That's the number one question you ask yourself, and then after that, you can figure out a strategy.
What impact they want to create with their NFTs?
So personally, I don't make NFTs, but I work with a lot of like groups that I basically build their projects, right? So like BitBasel, we're helping artists build their rapport online. We're helping them, just sell their art. In addition to that, I've done other individual projects where people will bring me in and I'll basically do what I'm telling you guys now. People pay me for this, so take them something home. Basically, what was it?
Take something home, yeah.
Take something home. But basically, like I give them these strategies. I tell them like, hey, do this, do this. We go over different ways to incentivize communities. My main thing is having good projects. There's a lot of bad projects out there. If anybody has actually purchased NFTs or invested in NFTs, then something's flop, and that's kind of just how it is. It's like the 2017 altcoin market all over again. If you get that, then you can see where people just will come just to make money off of people and leave. And that's something that happens a few times. So really just making a project that will last is my end goal whenever I work or I'm advising someone in terms of the NFT space. And something that people find valuable. Like I said, to me, there's no point in doing something if your audience isn't benefiting from it. Because at that point in time, you're robbing your audience, and that, as an artist, is not going to make you look good. Nobody wants to feel robbed. Like, could you imagine showing up to a Drake concert, and he's like, sings one song and walks away. The entire crowd would boo him and ask for the money back. And they might not show up next time.
So as an artist, we have an idea of yourself and NFT community, like who you are as an artist, or like the idea of the vision of yourself, with like about that of the thing you want to create and want to show to the world.
I would like to show the world, I don't know what I want to show the world. That I'm great, that I'm good at doing what I'm doing, and that honestly I'm promoting blockchain for all this. And ultimately, Bitcoin adoption, that's really how I ended up here, just alternative, because NFTs are valuable if you know how to value them, and if they're done correctly and by people who will grow in life, right? So as long as you're growing as an artist and you continue to promote your brand, your brand will grow, which means your NFTs will grow, right? I love all the tech and blockchain because really this is just an industry on top of technology. I love the concept of the technology, and for me, it's getting more people to mass adopt into the concept of cryptocurrency as a whole, which is why I push NFTs and why I do these talks, because it's understanding the importance of cryptocurrency and understanding the importance of things like Bitcoin, because then this industry, specifically NFTs, will function much better if people are educated, if they're knowledgeable, if they know how to get in, get out. Because technically speaking, you don't need to pay for an NFT in cryptocurrency. You can pay for it in anything. It's just an asset, but it's built on top of crypto. A lot of these companies, they make their own tokens. I think there's only one platform that I came across that takes credit card for NFTs. And I think Shopify now also has implemented the ability for you to buy NFTs through Shopify. So it's not even so much like, NFTs, crypto, whoa, blah. You don't need crypto for NFTs, but it's people, because it's heavily based there, people then need to learn the industry. So it's making sure, for me, it's making sure people understand what's going on, because education is a barrier to entry. So honestly, my end goal in all this is for everyone to be Bitcoin positive one day. That's my end goal.
Why did you say to be part of the Bitcoin community?
One more time?
Why did you say to be part of the Bitcoin community and realize the idea of the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is very important. And that's a whole conversation in itself, honestly. So Bitcoin is basically digital gold, and to me, it's sovereign money, and it's an alternative monetary system to government money. That's really what Bitcoin is. It's an alternative form of payment. One of the many. There's other cryptocurrencies out there that you can use for a multitude of things, but the more the world knows about this technology and the financial system that's built on top of it, the less we need to rely on banks, the less we need to, pay in taxes, which I think is sense personally, and all the other things in between. So, Bitcoin as a technology, cryptocurrency as a whole, is it's a way of life for me.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. All right, guys. The crowd. Anybody have any questions? We'll take questions if you have any. Questions? Johnny?
What trends do you see happening in the NFT space
Trends?
that excites you?
That excites me? Memberships. I think memberships are starting to be a trend right now. There's more and more memberships that are popping up. I'm not going to be surprised if Beyonce or Jay-Z or one of these other artists one of these days comes up and says, "Hey, I have a membership too, buy my NFT." Because that seems to be like the easiest thing to do. Offering a membership is making a connection to a person, and then literally having your NFT go up in value based off your fame and talking to people.
An artist here could get a space like a crypto box. People will buy their NFTs to get access to their online apartments.
Yeah, that too. Virtual land. So I used to do a lot of stuff in like VR, the VR space, like VR chat, alt space. But there's also blockchain-based systems where it's both web-based and it can be in VR fully, but they're very basically virtual galleries. And some of these plots of land are selling for thousands and thousands of dollars, and they start out for pennies. But people will flip these virtual lands online, and it's like the more popular these platforms become, the more expensive the real estate become, and then the more traffic it will bring to like a gallery. So, for example, CryptoVoxels, Sandbox, these are some platforms that exist within the crypto space where you can actually even purchase NFTs directly from these virtual galleries that people can just throw a party out of them, walk through them, tour them. We can do. I think Burning Man is going to be in VR again this year. They did it last year. If anyone is familiar with all the concerts that was happening in Fortnite, I have a friend who's building an NFT company called NFT Oasis, and basically what they're doing is they're putting 3D holograms of artists and singers and all those kind of famous people in alt space. You buy a ticket for an NFT, but they're performing in VR. Ariana Grande and Steve Aoki, I believe, did performances in Fortnite. So it's just taking that concept and just basically putting it somewhere else and utilizing NFTs on top of it. So yeah, it's super cool. It's cool stuff. You just gotta take the time to learn about it.
Will Facebook own the metaverse?
What about Facebook?
Will Facebook own the metaverse?
Well, honestly, if you guys didn't know, Facebook has first of all, Facebook owns Oculus, which is probably like that's like the Apple of VR headsets, if I was to put it. And they also started Horizons, which is their competitor to Microsoft's Hallspace. It's okay. But they are starting to get more into the metaverse like hub because they're seeing obviously everything is on the internet. They obviously own social media, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. Now they're doing Horizons. They're slowly expanding their way across and killing or attempting to kill or buy anyone who's in the way. So it's going to be really interesting what's going to happen to art space very soon because what they're doing is every VR platform is different. Some platforms are friendlier to host events than others, meaning you can mute the crowd, you can actually like ask people questions, chat bubbles. For example, VR chat is terrible at that. Do not host a event at VR chat unless you're showing really cool pieces of art and basically tilt brush sculptures. But yeah, Facebook is slowly but surely taking over the metaverse for sure. Absolutely. They already own the tech. Now they're building more tech to work with the tech, and then the rest is history. So, any more questions, guys? Sure. What's up? So to go about choosing it. So first, first thing you have to consider is what blockchain you want to do your NFTs on. Well, the way you want to think of these platforms is like galleries, right? These platforms are just galleries. You want to have your art, theoretically speaking, in the most galleries you can, right? But also, some of these places, it's gotten to the point where they have waiting periods. So, for example, Rarible, it used to be like 4 months, and I think it's gone up to like 9. So it would be more useful to like know someone. You basically have a meeting with someone who's at the top. At that point in time, honestly, it depends what caliber of an artist you are, really, whether you're speaking the line or not. But what I would do is find the easiest platform. If you don't have a community who is not necessarily tech savvy in the sense of buying crypto, because you have to buy cryptocurrency to even do some of the stuff with these platforms, right? And then from there, then they need to go to that platform and do whatever. So whichever platform is the easiest and or the cheapest, depending on your audience, to get on, that's going to be probably your first choice. So if you decide to go on Ethereum, it's like, all right, well, you have to take gas fees into consideration. Whether or not your community or your crowd can afford those gas fees. And then you have to figure out how much you're selling your NFTs for. If you're selling NFTs for $30, $40, $50, $100, and gas fees are $200, it makes no sense. Yeah, those are things that you want to think about. There's alternative blockchains such as like Wax or like Phantasma, SolRare on Solana. They have all third-party coins that work on other blockchains like EOS, and it's probably like sense to like mint stuff on there, and also for people to buy it. The gas fees aren't so high, and if you can appropriately tell people how to buy it and have it there, then they'll come. It's really about educating your crowd and then making sure it's a platform where it's affordable depending on what you're selling. Like if you're selling something that's exclusive, it's a one-of-one, whatever, go for whatever platform you think has the prime collectors for you. If you're trying to do sell $101 NFTs every day, which I mean that's $100 a day just selling JPEGs online, then go with Wax or go with something else. I have a friend who does, his model is 100 of 100 for $1, 10 of 10 for $30, $40, and he has a one-of-one that he sells for 100. He does that every day. And then even from people's like secondary market sales, flipping it, you probably makes $1 million a year doing that. So it's just depending on what you're selling, educate your audience, and the rest is history. One more time. Yeah, so the gas fees are based on the a few things. So if you're on Ethereum, the gas fees are based on, it's basically like you're bidding almost to get a transaction through the way it works. So if there's a lot of people making a lot of transactions, what happens is the cost of getting your transaction through is going to rise. So if there's, and it also goes based off the price of Ethereum. So the higher Ethereum is, as like, price is $3,000, the gas is going to be naturally higher than if it is at $2,000 because it goes by weight, which is a smaller unit of Ethereum, and there's also Ether, which is like the actual gas. Actual gas is Ether. So there's a few things to consider there. There's some platforms that are like Harmony One. It's built on top of Ethereum, and what they do is that they actually have their own Harmony One token. And instead of you paying in ETH, like they work on the ERC blockchain, but they're basically a fork. But they have their own coin. So at that point in time, people can still interact with a wallet like MetaMask and work on top of the ERC, EVM platform. But at the same time, the gas fees aren't that high because they're using the Harmony token to pay the fees. However, whenever and I don't know if you can just buy Harmony, directly on exchanges, but sometimes with these tokens you have to buy ETH first and then switch into Harmony, which that could be a higher fee. And then depending on how we configure the coin, if it is Harmony's important, so this doesn't apply to them. But if it was not a native token, I forgot the name for it, but if it's a token basically like lazy limited, let's say, on top of Ethereum, then they would be subject to the same fees as if it was Ethereum, basically. So, yes. I feel like it already is, and I think it's been so everything that's popular. So actually, let's talk about Banksy, because Banksy sells physical art. Doesn't do NFTs. He's a Bitcoin only kind of guy. People literally bought his art, burned it, and turned it into an NFT. Burned the physical art. That's the thing. There's people who literally do not want you to send them a physical piece of art at all. They just want the NFT. So I think, obviously that's a very niche crowd, but it still exists. And I think the way that we're doing like memes, we're kind of making this mainstream. NFTs, in my opinion, have made crypto kind of mainstream. Just for who's getting involved, right? Because it's these bigger names. It's the Beyoncés, the Ariana Grandes, the Lau's, the Gary V's, who are really like, just like, oh, NFTs, like that girl. What was that girl? Her action pictures like she sold the stoner hats. Yeah, she sold she made like $87 million. It's some ridiculous number. Maybe it was 8.7. That's a lot of millions in my opinion. So, yeah. So it's up to who's pushing it, and then after the masses see what's kind of like happening, and they see their favorite person, their Cardi B doing it, then at that point in time, yeah, it's really everything in crypto has always been very indie, and I think we're at the point where it's not indie anymore. Yeah. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So if you want to do physical and digital, there's two things you can look at. You can look at how people does it. What he does is any physical art that he sells, it comes with a QR code. And the way that he sells his art, he basically has this like, if you go on his website, it's kind of like his own like platform he has almost. So that you basically retrieve the NFT with the physical QR code physically on the piece. One. Two, technically, unless it's really important to make sure that you put all the terms and conditions of your NFT in the metadata. So if you sell a piece of paint, a piece of art that doesn't have any direct quote-unquote connection to the NFT, it's kind of an NFC or an artist ID or anything connected to it, QR code, none of that. The best way to do it in my opinion is to just gift the physical piece and make sure that in the metadata you put that the value of the piece is there because of the NFT. So that whenever it's retreated and someone, let's say, finds out, oh, I didn't get the physical piece with it, it says it in there, hey, this one's just a gift. Because you can gift it, but the value is held within the NFT. So that way they would come back to it. They can do both. They can sell them separately if they want. You can sell your art separately. You don't have to sell the physical piece to sell the NFT. That's optional. You could always sell them together as a bundle. Maybe the bundle maybe a little more pricey than just one or the other. However you want to do it. But if it's not connected somehow to the NFT or they can retrieve it with the physical without needing the physical piece, and just gift it. And then make sure in the NFT says that the first buyer gets whatever gifted. You don't have to tell them that, but it's in the contract, so someone doesn't come back to you and say, hey, I didn't get blah 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 analysis for it. Just to save you some legal and stuff. So first, you kind of want to first. I mean, if you already have collectors, the first thing you want to do is inform your collectors how to buy. If you already have an online audience, the first thing you want to do is informing your online audience of how to buy. Because there's already an audience that exists, but you also have an audience that's already specifically involved with you and interested in you, right? So what I tell people usually is to educate the people that you already sell to, one, by saying, hey, I'm doing this, crypto thing, whatever. This is how you get a wallet. This is how you get Ethereum. I have these NFTs. This NFT gives you access to talk to me in this group or whatever. And then whoever's interested, they will follow, right? That's the first step. And then naturally, you will attract other people. Getting on platforms and talking about the tag and getting involved with communities, you will attract people. So, my biggest place for attracting communities is Twitter. Twitter is very crypto heavy, super crypto heavy. There's a big NFT community on there, and then just be talking in chat rooms on Discord, showing your art in chat rooms, just pushing your brand. So educating community and pushing your brand in these communities that already exist is the best way to do it. Yeah. It is, but it's literally just an industry on top of tech, and it's just educating people how to handle the tech part. Yeah, because it's just, like I said, there's I think one or two platforms that let you buy with a credit card, but most of them deal with crypto. So it's not like you need crypto to do NFTs. You really don't, but most of them do crypto. So I think eBay even did NFT sales or enabled NFT sales. And eBay does credit cards. So there you go. So if you decide to sell your NFTs on eBay, who's stopping you, right? So that's always an option. Yeah. So just go home and do research, guys. Don't listen to me. I'm crazy. You're welcome. I guess I will. Oh, guys, if you want some more information, if you want to find me, I'm on all social platforms as at the BTC Queen. And or if you go to BitBasel, BitBasel.Miami, or if you go to BitBasel Miami on any social platforms, our Discord, the sign. Actually, what am I doing? There's a sign right here. Go here. Right here. Thank you.
For the angry away, step into making this a lot better. Now this shit is ran by the nose. Black shit, you got your back.